Powered by Arkansas, for Arkansas. This is Inside Arkansas Live.
And welcome into Inside Arkansas Live here on this beautiful day here in the great state of Arkansas. I'm your host, John Neighbors, alongside Curtis Wilkerson and Andrew Ellis, and appreciate each and every one of you for making us a part of your afternoon. This afternoon, as we got plenty of things to talk about here on this Wednesday, we'll have our heavy hitters presented by HD Roofing and Construction. We'll also get into our Hump Day headlines presented by BetSaracen, have a little Summer Dog Days presented with topics of conversation presented by our friends over at Freedom Boat Club of Arkansas, and a vibe check of the chat presented, of course, by our friends at Basis Health. We'll get into all the things going on in the sports world, react to some of the videos that's going on, especially Razorback news. But either way, fellas, how we feeling here on Hump Day midweek, getting ready for the July 4th holiday, which, by the way, real quick, we will not be doing a show on July 4th, just to let everybody know. You know that. I know. Who would have guessed? But we're going to celebrate America instead of doing this show. But either way, how's Wednesday going for you guys so far?
I'll be proudly rocking the red, white, and blue. I can't wait. Wednesday's going good. We're here, everybody. Calm down. Calm down. We're here. I'm excited that you guys are excited for the show to start. Relax.
There's so much pain and suffering in the world, boys, but none in this room. This is a happy moment, and it's a happy day of Inside Arkansas Live, and there's a lot of beautiful things going on regarding the pig and regarding just life.
It's a great way to put it. I'd say that's a great start to the show. Positive vibes only that we're going to be having. I'm sure that some people in the chat will change that here soon. But either way, right now, we're going to be excited and be happy about everything. We'll talk about some of the things in recruiting too. And I think this Jon Gruden video is pretty great. But we kind of been going through at least different position groups over the past few days for Razorback football coming up. Talked about wide receivers yesterday. We talked about Taylor Green in the quarterback room a lot too. But kind of just continuing on with that, I thought it was pretty fascinating with the running back position and this upcoming season. It's like, I think when we even looked at the ratings yesterday from EA Sports college football video game, you had a couple running backs that were some of the higher rated players on the team. And it's, you got a Braylen Russell, and then you got some guys that were transfers that are coming in that you're hopeful for. But I just feel like the running back position has always been pretty strong for Arkansas. For the most part, no matter the coach, no matter the time frame, they've always had really strong running back players and running back rooms. But as far as this upcoming season goes, you lose Jaquindon Jackson, you lose some others. But how do you feel confidence-wise and the level of confidence you have in this running back room that it can continue on having a solid, or in some cases maybe even elite, but at least start with solid showing in the running back room in the SEC this upcoming season?
Turns out we're 4 minutes into this, and I'm going to be the guy that ruins the vibes. I'm sorry. I just don't know if I'm seeing it. A lot of it's going to depend on the offensive line, just like a lot of the conversation we had with Taylor Green and some of these other guys there. But I mean, I don't know. Braylen Russell had more entries into the transfer portal than he did rushing yards, throughout the course of the year. I think there could be something there. I do. But the last sample size that we got was that Liberty Bowl against Texas Tech, where he had 25 carries for 50 yards or something. So, going to need to take the next step there. I know that he was kind of banged up, it seems like, on and off throughout the course of the spring. I like that he's trimmed up. So maybe that'll help from that standpoint. I know that they're excited about what they saw from Mike Washington in the spring, but I haven't seen him yet. And I don't know exactly how that's going to translate from New Mexico State into the SEC. I see a couple big, strong, powerful backs, but I don't know that I see a lot of breakaway SEC speed in the backfield. So I don't know. I don't know how I feel about this, to be honest with you guys.
Yeah, I think I think a lot of people are higher on Arkansas's running back room than us, and that's not to say that we're right and they're wrong, or we're wrong and we're right, or we're wrong and they're right. But I just think we don't know, and the reason we don't know is we haven't seen either of these guys be that bell cow type of go-to back for a legitimately good team. I mean, Mike Washington has some experience, but it was never really like a big featured back. I mean, I think his career highs are around 600, 700 yards rushing. And Braylen Russell had some good moments last year, but it's one thing to be a flashy running back that has some good moments off the bench as a 2 or 3 guy than to being that number 1 guy that you're turning around and handing the ball to 20 times. And so I think both of these guys, in essence, are capable of being that guy, but it's one thing, can you do that at the SEC level? And we don't exactly know what the offensive line they're going to be running behind is going to be like. I don't even know if it's necessarily going to be green grass a-flowing for these guys. I do think Taylon Green's going to help both of those guys look good because teams are going to circle Taylon Green. They are not going to circle Braylen Russell. They are not going to circle Mike Washington. So early in the year, it's up to those running backs to kind of establish themselves as a legitimate 1-2 punch that teams have to account for. I think Arkansas has a stable that they like. I think they like both of those guys, and I think it can be a competent stable, but I don't necessarily know if I see a 1,000-yard back. And I might say, if there's going to be a 1,000-yard rusher on this team, I actually think it might be Taylon Green, which would take a lot. That would be a big deal. I think I can see the case for him more so than I can these two running backs who are most likely going to split the duties. And you know, we've seen Arkansas have multi-1,000-yard rusher seasons with guys like Alex Collins and Jonathan Williams. I don't think that's what we're looking at here necessarily, but I guess it could happen.
Well, I think it also depends on the type of offense that you're running with. And I think with the Petrino offense and having Taylon Green, it's maybe not catered towards having two running backs that are going to have 1,000 yards, which I know we'll talk about the 1,000-yard side of things too here in a second. But, you know, last year, guys, I remember we got to go to spring practice and we got to see Jaquindon Jackson. And I think all four of us, us three and Scotty, we were watching, you're like, yeah, this guy's going to be good. You know, you didn't even have to see him in real action. You just saw the specimen that he was and the approach that he had. He was battling injury all year long because that was the one thing that I had a criticism of. He loved contact, which is something you enjoy, but at the same time, you're like, hey, be smart, you know, don't get hurt. He dealt with that a lot. But then even before that, you know, Rocket Sanders was a really good running back for Arkansas, had 1,400 rushing yards in a single season. And so and when you saw him, you could just kind of tell, hey, this guy looks a little different. This guy's kind of a specimen. You could just see it on the field, even in practices. And I know we haven't, you know, had a chance to really see all these guys in practice, but I just don't know if you're going to have that particular player of just like, oh yeah, this person's different. Braylen Russell's a good sized guy, was 6'1", 230, 235. I mean, he's a good, solid player. But besides him, you got some smaller guys. I think Mike Washington's the other one too that's a little bit bigger. But you got some smaller guys. Can't forget AJ Green's back, someone that we have seen a few times in action for Arkansas and elsewhere. But I'm kind of with you to where it's not that I feel like the running back room is going to be bad. It's just compared to what we've gotten used to seeing, where you had that one guy, at least that one guy, we're like, yep, that guy's great, or hey, this guy's going to be great. I just don't know, because if I'm going to have to put my bets on Braylen Russell being that guy, not saying he can't, but I just haven't really felt confident enough in what he's done and seen enough to say, oh yeah, this is going to be that guy. Some of it is, of course, the mental part of it too, of, you know, in, out, transfer portal stuff, which I know is behind him and he's a Razorback now, but you know, is that going to have an impact? Is that going to impact his day-to-day operation? If he's not getting the carries that he wants, or if he's not playing as well as he wants, is it going to impact him? Is he going to start listening to outside noise? Don't really know. But, you know, we talk about compliments to Taylon Green. Yes, he's got to have good wide receivers, got to have a good offensive line, but the running back room can really be a huge help to him as well. And I just hope that 1-2 of these guys step up, but I just really have no idea and do not know what it's going to look like.
Yeah. And I mean, it feels like with the way that it's kind of put together here, that they're hoping Braylen can emerge and be that guy. For me, it's absolutely going to have to be I'll believe it when I see it, or show me first. Like, I'm open to that 100%, but I think back, like, he had the one breakout game, and then remember the tweets about like, oh, anybody know a good agent or whatever it was. And it's like, there was that whole thing. And then there was in the portal, then out of the portal, then in the portal, then out of the portal. Just everything that went into that, it just kind of left a weird taste in my mouth. And I'm sure a lot of other people feel that way. Hey, glad you're back here. All hog, rooting for you. But I want to see him locked in, committed through an entire offseason, and go into the year, earn that number one spot, and then go out there and prove it out in the field. And when he does that, I'll be pumped for it. But there's just been a lot of extra stuff that makes me at least just kind of have an eyebrow raised about, oh, is that really going to happen? But when I look at this team, I kind of wonder if it's going to be like a few years ago. What was it? It was Rocket, AJ, Traylon Smith, and KJ were all over 500 yards or around 500 yards rushing. Maybe it's something like that, where you know you're going to get a lot out of Taylon at the quarterback position, and maybe you get that much out of Braylen, maybe you get that much out of Mike Washington. And I'm not saying, like Rodney Hill or, the freshmen, like those guys are going to really pop off or anything, but I'm sure they're going to get some carries there. Maybe it'll be a by committee type of deal there, and they wind up having a strong rushing attack without having the dude who kind of carries the entire load.
Yeah, I think Hog fans would certainly sign up for that. One, maybe not the premise, but like that year that you're referring to, Arkansas went 8-4, but also had a top 20 rushing attack nationally. I think they might have even led the SEC in rushing, despite not having that 1,000-yard back. So definitely, I mean, listen, if you can get something going like that, for sure. But again, you guys both talk about the dependability of these running backs, and that's just a question mark. And capability, we can even have that question of like, hey, are these guys really SEC caliber, starting running backs? That's a question in and of itself. And then even if you determine, yes, they are SEC starting running backs, are they going to be dependable that you can count on week in, week out, game in, no matter the matchup? You just kind of know what you're getting. And I think back, John, you mentioned some of the running backs in the past, like Rocket Sanders and obviously like Darren McFadden and just all these big running backs, Alex Collins, that are just big body guys that you can count on. These two running backs, Braylen Russell and Mike Washington, certainly kind of fit that physical profile. But will they be that just steady force for Arkansas? Braylen Russell in his career, I mean, as much as we like the guy, dependable is not the word I would use. I mean, you enter the portal twice, you're banged up a lot, which, by the way, there's nothing wrong with being banged up. That's the only knock we had on Jaquinton Jackson, besides maybe a couple fumbles here and there, is he just was banged up. And so it's like, even if you are a good, big, physical running back that can do the job and can do it well and you're mature, you can still get banged up and broken down by the course of the season. And we've seen that happen with a lot of Arkansas's top rushers lately. And so there's just a lot of question marks. And, it's not that these guys can't answer those questions, but you kind of have to earn that trust and that respect and that, prove that by being durable and by being a dependable running back. I think that's going to be the big challenge for Braylen Russell. And I think for Mike Washington, who's a fifth-year senior, he should be very motivated of like, hey, this is my last go-around. I've been kind of a number two back my entire career. Now it's my chance to really be that guy. You have two very motivated guys who want to show Razorback Nation that they're dependable. Like, I like the premise of it, but going into the season, I don't know if I can really be super confident. And when I think about that 2021 offensive line, that had a lot of seniors who had been playing together for a while. I mean, Myron Cunningham, all these guys, Ricky Stromberg, an NFL guy, like all these really good offensive linemen who knew how to play together. Bo Limmer. I don't know about if this year's Arkansas offensive line has that as well.
Yeah, because I think the offensive line, which I know we'll talk about as the summer goes on, but is key to almost all of this, if not all of this, because if you have an incredible offensive line, you could have an average running back to get 1,000 yards. I mean, you can just make that happen because, no matter what, if the holes are there, anybody can run through that and get 5 yards a carry if it's there. So that is a key for it. But it kind of reminds me, guys, of this upcoming season. And I hope it's not the case. But back in 2009, when Petrino was coach, ironically enough, Arkansas, their leading running back that year was Broderick Green, which I have no problems. Broderick Green, solid running back and everything. He had 442 yards. He led the team in rushing. And that to me is what could be what this season ends up being, where you have some guys that get a lot of carries and maybe they try to get it going, but because of maybe the offensive line not being what it needs to be, or maybe because of the lack of durability, as you mentioned, you could see the rushing attack take a real hit to where Taylon Green has to kind of carry all load, like almost being a one-man offense in a lot of cases of being able to lead the team in rushing or maybe even get the rushing yards because, hey, I'm going to drop back, and if I don't see anything, I'm going to take off running. Or, when we do the option here, I'm going to take off running because, hey, you're not getting anything or you're not doing very well, you're not confident in whatever, so I'm just going to take over and do it myself. I could absolutely see that being the case. And if it works and if it's successful, then great. That's because you want to be able to have production no matter what. But it's just going to be really nice if you have one of those guys. But with Arkansas, back in 2009, luckily they had Ryan Mallett throwing for like 3,800 yards or whatever it was. Is Taylon Green going to do that? Don't know. It'd be pretty cool if he did. It'd be awesome if he did. But at some point in time, you got to have a balance and you got to have an offense that can go. And if you can't get it going in the rushing attack, then you better just hope that the passing game is there, and you better hope that Taylon Green can take over himself. But I kind of agree, too. I think that if there was going to be a leading rusher this season, or even one to get to 1,000 yards, it might be Taylon Green. Hopefully he doesn't get sacked too many times to keep him from 1,000 yards. But I think that there's a really good possibility that he leads his team in rushing, similar to what KJ Jefferson did, but maybe even more so to where he gets to that 1,000-yard mark if he stays healthy. And also if the running backs are not where they need to be and maybe not being as successful as they once were.
Yeah, I think so. And they're from a numbers perspective, I still have a sense of confidence that they're going to be fine offensively, moving the football. I don't know that's going to be a big deal, but where are some of the ways that they struggled last year, putting it on the turf? So, if Braylen Russell and Mike Washington have better hands than Jaquindon Jackson did, even if they're not as good of football players, that can make a difference, because it's one thing he did was put on the turf a lot. R-Dub was putting it on the turf a lot. Don't fumble the football, all right? Take care of it. I do think when I look at guys like Braylen and Mike Washington, if you're in, third and short, fourth and short, goal line situations, again, yes, we always have to put that caveat on there, and we get it, but we're going to keep saying it. Yeah, the offensive line factors a lot into that, but they're the type of guys who should be able to hit a hole and fall forward and get you that yard if you need it. So can you be a little bit more efficient, in the red zone or whatever. Little things like that. Do they score more points is what's going to be interesting to me overall with this offense. Because that was kind of the thing that people did all season. You can manipulate statistics any way you want to. You can look at it and say, oh, Arkansas had a top 10 offense or whatever it was in the country. Well, yeah, based on yards per game. But then some of their efficiencies were way out there on the margins. Can they improve there? That's a question that remains to be seen.
Yeah, Arkansas last year had a high variance offense where they had so many 3 and outs, but then it was like if they would get a drive going, they could kind of gain steam, and it felt like they finished a lot of those drives, but they had so many times where they couldn't get out of first gear, and they had that big play explosion, but not necessarily that consistent being able to pick up 5-6 yards. And so I think that, and I think Taylon's health, by the way, was a big part of that. They weren't able to depend on him in the run game the way they probably want to, and the way they most likely will this season if they're able to. I think that was a little bit of a factor in that situation. But I think going into this offseason, this offense kind of knows that. Hey, we know we can make plays downfield. We have an athletic quarterback who's going to raise our floor, but also give us a chance to make these big plays. But we need reliability. We need dependability. We need to be a little bit more dependent on our run game, which when Arkansas's had success under Sam Pittman, they've been very dependent on their run game to kind of shrinking the game and play their style of football. And you mentioned the offensive line. When you have an offensive line that you maybe don't, it's some younger guys that haven't been in there, like the Jaquan McCroy kid, probably going to struggle more in pass protection than he is in run blocking, where he's just a massive rock of a man. The more dependent you are on your run game, the less pressure you're putting on your offensive line, the less you're in those 3rd and 11 situations where it's obvious passing downs. I think this team wants to live in 3rd and 3, 3rd and 2, where maybe your offensive line, you're not just saying, hey, line up against these SEC edge rushers. It's 3rd and 9. They know you're passing. Let's go to work, Jaquan McCroy. I think they would much rather live in that, getting 3-4 yards every play and just kind of play that style of football. And I think they have the quarterback. They have the heavy running backs to do it. Will Taylon's body hold up? Because, again, that's a lot of damage for your quarterback to take. But I think going into this offseason, this offense kind of knows they have to have a little bit more of a reliable style of offense that can be consistent throughout a game.
Well, and then part of that is what we've been asking for our Alumni Hall question of the day, presented by friends at Alumni Hall. Go to 3417 North College Avenue for the ultimate Razorback shopping experience, or you can shop them online at InsideArkansas.com/Alumni Hall. Use that QR code up there. Hogs by 20 for 20% off your purchase. You got everything when it comes to Razorback apparel and decor, and there's no other place you ever need to go. So check them out today. It's Alumni Hall and InsideArkansas.com/Alumni Hall. Just a simple thing of, will the Arkansas Razorbacks have a 1,000-yard rusher this season? Doesn't have to be a running back. Just it can be anybody, which more than likely would be Taylon Green. But do you believe that will happen? I was a little surprised, guys, by the polling on this. Only 60% say no. I thought that there'd be a lot more people saying, there's no way because the offense or whatever. But right now, 60% say no and 40% say yes, that Arkansas will indeed have a 1,000-yard rusher this year. Which, think about if they did have a 1,000-yard rusher. I mean, automatically at least makes me, if you told me that regardless of the name of it, hey, you're going to have a 1,000-yard rusher this year, it's like, okay, so I guess the offense was doing pretty good, pretty solid. The offensive line was doing pretty good. And you stayed healthy. I mean, that's how I would look at it. So, but yeah, it's also funny too, because someone mentioned that, every time Arkansas had a 1,000-yard rusher, they've had a great year. I'm like, not really. Rakeem Boyd had 1,000 yards. So just keep that in mind. That year did not go well. They went 2-10. So it is possible. So,
yeah, I guess I would have thought that would have been a little bit higher to the negatory, but this is just the natural progression back from doom and gloom to summer optimism to fall camp hype to absolute irrational expectations going into the season and then blaming us for it if things don't go well. We know how this cycle works.
Yeah, I think I'm leaning towards a no, for all the reasons that we talked about is probably, and that's kind of what I expected just because I don't think, but again, I don't know. Coming out of spring, there really wasn't much buzz about anything, but that was the one thing that like people that were at practice were like very big on is like they feel like Michael Washington's good at running back. So I think people have him in mind when they think about 1,000-yard rusher. I don't imagine there's a ton of Arkansas fans who are super confident in the proposition of Braylen Russell running for 1,000 yards. And I love Braylen Russell. I actually think he might be the most likely guy to do it because I think he has the talent to do it. And if he's just available, he can make it happen. But I think Hog fans, I think most Hog fans probably voted yes, thinking of Mike Washington, right?
I would think so. Totally. I mean, actually, I don't even know. I would say Taylor Green, to be honest, is maybe why they voted all that. Because of like the one consistent deal, kind of like what we talked about in our most positive show of all time with Taylor Green a couple days ago. I think that everybody, if they are hating on Sam Pittman or hating on the team, hating on the program or whatever, I think most people, we should be saying, hey, but Taylor Green's there and Taylor Green's good and they could do some really good things with him.
I mean, listen, you got to average roughly 75 yards a game. If you're going to play 13 games, assuming you make a bowl game, about 13 games, about 75 yards. Taylor averaged 46 yards on the ground per game last year, and at Boise, it was like 41 and 45. So it's like right around there for his career. An increase of 30. Now, by the way, he got sacked a ton last year, and he had some bad sacks. Like he probably lost 200, 300 yards worth of sack yardage. So he really wasn't that far away from being a 1,000-yard rusher when you look at it from that standpoint, but he's still going to be getting sacked, maybe not as much, and then maybe you add a little bit to what he's able to do in the run game. But I don't know, 30-yard per game increase is going to be tough. But hey, if Taylor runs for 1,000 yards, that means he stayed healthy, and that means Arkansas has a pretty high floor, honestly, and that floor might even be 5 games.
Yeah, it might be. By the way, how do you guys feel, if you even have an opinion on it, of sack yardage going against rushing yardage?
It's so stupid. With how prominent college quarterback rushing is, it doesn't make any sense. In the NFL, like the quarterbacks don't even really run that much, but they don't even count sack yardage against them. Like, I don't know. It is just, it's not a big deal, but I definitely think a pass play that goes awry should not count against the quarterback's individual rushing yards.
Agreed.
Yeah, I've never understood why it's done that way. Even as a kid, I was like, well, that doesn't make much sense. But, I guess, honestly, I chalk it up to just laziness. There's like, we don't want to have to track another stat here. We're just going to chalk it up to this. And, we'll do net yardage and throw that into the mix if that ends up being the case. So, I've never been a fan of it. I wish they would change it. And just think about how many players in history would probably have like over 1,000 yards rushing as a quarterback or whatever, at least a lot more if they just didn't count it that way. And maybe that's why they don't change it, because they'd be unfair to the previous players. And there's probably some random reasons for all of that nonsense. But yeah, one of the many stats I don't really care about or understand. So, but I tell you what, this is another story we'll talk about, and we'll make it part of some of our headlines presented by our friends over at BetSaracen, the number one sports betting app in the state of Arkansas. Not even close. They already got the futures when it comes to wins and win totals for the Razorback football team. You can even get the exact wins and be able to get plus money on it. So get to BetSaracen.com, where you can download the app at BetSaracen on your iPhone and on your Android. It's BetSaracen, Arkansas's number one sports betting app. I wanted to bring up this story, guys, because I know a lot of people were talking about it. I'm sure you guys saw it as well when it comes to this time of year and recruiting and everything. This was brought up about the blue chip legacy recruit, as according to Best of Arkansas Sports, where a kid, let's see if I'm making sure that I get the right one here, because for some reason my computer is messing up. But okay, there we go. So you got Chase Campbell, who is a 4-star player. And he is a guy who had his parents play at Arkansas. A lot of connections there. He's even born in Fayetteville. He's a 4-star wide receiver for the 2026 class. A lot of connections, though, to Arkansas, but he actually lives down in Texas. But according to the sources, the 136th overall prospect, according to 24/7 Sports, was told that by the Razorbacks coaching staff that they don't have a place for him. And this was according to his parents. Apparently, they have no hard feelings. They're moving on. And all is just fine as far as that goes. But a lot of fans are having reactions to this in a very angry way towards coaching staff, Sam Pittman, whoever's involved, and the fact that you have a 4-star wide receiver, a top 150 player, guy who has all the connections to Arkansas that you possibly want. And what we know is that they were just told that, hey, we don't have a spot for you. So when you saw this story, what was your reaction to this?
I'm not surprised by any reason why Arkansas football would fail to get a really good recruit. I'm just not. And like, I'm sure that there's got to be more to the story or whatever that we're not hearing, but I don't know how anybody could look at it on the surface and hear, top 150 receiver, parents with a lot of Arkansas connections. Not that they didn't make the cut, but that Arkansas cut him from the equation because they didn't have room for him in a class that's filled with, frankly, a bunch of recruits that don't rank as highly as he does. Like, anybody who's upset about that, I have a hard time blaming them for it. I'll wait to see what the rest of the context is, if there is, but at the end of the day, am I surprised by this? No, not at all.
Yeah, I definitely don't want to like do a thing where we pretend like this is the end of the world and it's like it ruins the class and like it's because it's directly because Sam Pittman's a moron or anything like that. Because I know there's a lot of people who will do that. But like you said, it's hard to be surprised, and it's just not a good look. It's just not a good public perception to have out there. I'm 1,000% sure there is more to the story in that. There's conversations between him and the staff, and they disagreed or didn't see eye to eye on something. Maybe he was asking for money. I don't know, but just fundamentally, this is the kind of player, 4-star legacy, would be the highest rated in your class. Like, it's the kind of player that if Arkansas had gotten him, we would be a unanimous, awesome, hell yeah decision, like that nobody would have any issue with at all. So when it doesn't go your way, and then it turns out actually your coaching staff may have actually been the one to cut ties, I don't expect fans to respond well to that. Again, there's almost certainly more to the story. I don't think it's as simple as like they thought all of their 26 commits were better than this guy. But when you look at Arkansas's recruiting class and where they're going to end up, and the fact that, again, this would be the highest rated guy in their class, it's a tough one to justify. But again, I say that there probably is something. There is another side to this, I would imagine.
Yeah, and that's where it's tough, because you see these stories, and on the surface level, you have every reason to be upset, because I would be upset too. I mean, for all the reasons you guys mentioned. But it's about the reasoning behind it and trying to look at it logically, where, as you said, you can't just – I just have a hard time believing that Sam Pittman or anyone on the staff saw this kid and they were recruiting this kid. It wasn't like they were never recruiting him. Like, they were recruiting him. He went on a visit. Like, there was that. But looking at him, knowing that he's a high-quality player and all that, and they're just too stupid to see that he's actually a good player. Like, I don't think that that's the case. There could be a lot of reasons behind it, but the perception, kind of what you were mentioning, is what I think is the look that you can be critical of, because it doesn't look good. And it also goes back to what I see in sports so often. When you're winning and losing, the same thing can happen, but you approach it a different way. If you're winning at a high level and this exact same story happens, a lot of fans are just going to be like, hey, well, hey, we got bigger, we're just doing just fine. Like, I trust all of this, it's fine, whatever. Must have been something going on. Maybe his grades weren't good. He doesn't have, he's a cancer in the locker. People just find stuff. But when you're losing, it becomes an exponentially larger problem. And so that's where, maybe we don't know what the ins and outs of the story and the reasoning behind it. Because it's not like you can just ask Sam Pittman at SEC Media Days. He can't really talk about recruits and specific recruits, and people are still in high school. But it's the perception of the current situation of where you're at, even if it's NIL or whatever. It's like, man, these are the types of players that you really would like to have on your campus, especially knowing all the connections. And it's one thing if he goes into another school because the other school is just better for him, or better offense, or even more NIL. But when it comes out that you told him you don't have a spot for him, it's like, dude, this is the type of player you make a spot for. That's the type of player you want to have on your team. And so that, to me, is what's the worst part about it, is just the perception of it, more so than just like, oh, well, they didn't want him because they're too stupid to recognize a true talent, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it does. Like it is perception. It is a tough look. There are circumstances in which it could look better, but right now, at least Arkansas doesn't meet any of the criteria. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
if it's, hey, sorry, dude, we don't have a spot for you because you were dragging your feet and we took another receiver who's just as good or better or whatever, then it's like, oh, okay. But I don't believe that to be the case here. And if it's them just saying, hey, we're full and we're not going to take you and make room by getting rid of, making a business decision with somebody who's not as good as you, I don't like that look either. If it's, we can't afford you, then my question becomes, why and how long does this get to be an excuse with everything that we've been talking about? We've been waiting and waiting and waiting for this revenue share because that's the great equalizer. And since that's come to fruition, the entire conversation has been about how Arkansas is passing on, in-state guys or, guys that might be able to help them or be interested because they're not comfortable with the asking price. Like, how long does that get to be a topic of conversation here? So who knows what the end of the story is going to be and how it all plays out. But from a sheer look standpoint, I just don't think it's a good one.
It's definitely not. And context matters. And in this case, the surrounding context matters in a negative way because there's so many other things. Because how many times have we done it where we say, hey, this one kid, this one receiver in this class, yeah, this isn't the end of the world that you miss out on him, whatever. Yeah, Isaiah Satania leaves. Oh, it's not the end of the world. That one situation, that's not going to break you, whatever. You bring in a D2 defensive lineman that's going to start for you. That's not a big deal by itself. That's not going to break you, but you just keep adding all these things together, the cost cutting at pretty much every turn and all these scenarios, the Madden Iamaliava situation, just all these different scenarios where you kind of take an L and it's like, okay, yeah, this one situation isn't that big of a deal in and of itself. But when you keep adding all this context around, it really looks bad. And anytime something happens with high school recruiting, we always hear people say the built-in excuse of, well, who cares about high school recruiting because it's really all about the portal. They're going to save their money for the portal. I'd rather them do that. And in theory, big picture, sure. But then why do you have 23 scholarships going out to 3-star recruits literally in this class? They have 26 commits. Why do you have 23 scholarships being given to high school kids that are not high-level guys that other SEC teams want if you're so focused on the portal? Like, wouldn't the rare exception of a high school kid you would want to make an exception for, wouldn't that be a top 150 type of guy who has a father that played at your university? Like, isn't that the kind of, like, asterisks when you're like, yeah, we want to focus on the portal, but we obviously know we're going to have to bring in some high school kids? If you really only care about the portal, I would not be taking 26 high school kids, 23 of which are 3-stars, to the point where you're having to tell other 4-stars, hey, yeah, actually see you later. You have another 4-star in your state that commits to Oklahoma State last week. It's like you just add it all up and it doesn't look great. And I don't know where where you can say, yeah, this is a bad look, but, and then fill in with this over here looks great. I don't know what that other thing is.
Well, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say 2 sentences here. For Arkansas's sake here, like, I kind of hope the kid's a knucklehead. You know what I mean? Like, I don't obviously hope that. Like, I wish the kid the best and everything like that. But I would hope that the context that we're missing is that there were some kind of red flags that popped up to make them say, we don't, we don't have room. Sorry.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I just don't get it.
Yeah, and that's, again, why it's like waiting until to see if something comes out, which I hope there isn't anything against the kid. He's a high school kid. But I also think back, not this exact scenario, but man, we talk about coaches that could have or had connections with Arkansas that didn't come to Arkansas. The amount of players, I'll never forget, Spencer Rattler. I remember hearing, grew up a Razorback fan. I was like, I beg your pardon? What? Like, why weren't you not recruiting this guy? How did you not get him? Was it Isaiah Nichols or whoever? Not Isaiah Nichols. He was a Razorback, I think.
Springdale.
Yeah. Who was the player that went to Clemson? Just lost his name.
Isaiah Simmons.
Yeah. Who was like, all Hog, all Razorback. It's like, what do you need to get that kid? Like, what was there? What went wrong? It should have been an easy thing. I just really hope that this does not end up being one of those deals where in a few years you got this guy just balling out wherever he ends up going, and the story resurfaces of like, hey, this kid born in Fayetteville and all of his family played at Arkansas, and this, like, what the crap? Like, why did this happen? Why didn't you do that? That's what I'm hoping does not happen. But still, it's about perception. It's about the tough look, and I know we spend a lot of time talking about the revenue share and everything, but man, I hate to be that guy, but man, we talked about it months ago, back when it was first being mentioned about the revenue share being the saving grace and what we were fearful of like, is it really? And it certainly doesn't give that vibe right now. So, especially losing out the players that you're losing out on. Golly, it used to be so great having so many Arkansas connections, and it almost be a surefire thing. I mean, you can't even get Diesel McFadden to come to Arkansas. I mean, that's tough. Can't have it, man. You got to find a way. So
it's just an irritating deal, because it's kind of like you mentioned, like if every little thing that happens here in a vacuum, not that big of a deal. Like this, not the end of the world. But it just feels like these things continue to compound on each other. And it's things that we don't want to lament on or question or have these big debates about. But I mean, when it's one thing after another, it's hard not to look at it. And we're trying to be as objective as possible. And, let's wait until we get some context and everything. But it's hard on the surface to not have a reaction. It's like, what the hell is going on here?
I know. And I don't
want to be like this.
No. And that's how I look at it. We talk about winning the offseason. To me, the offseason, you need to go to a bowl game in the offseason. Like, what I mean by that is you need to have at least a 500 record or better when it comes to wins and losses you take in the offseason. And for Arkansas in football right now, when you're talking about compounding, whether it's little bitty losses or whatever, it's just there's been so many more L's taken than there has been dubs in the offseason. And that's what gets added to it. I'm not saying that there hasn't been any wins whatsoever, but man, it's been tough to kind of look at the whole thing in a big picture situation since the second the regular season ended for Arkansas against Missouri this past season to now. I mean, if you're combining the record, man, you're sitting there. You might be batting 186 right now or something like that when it comes to the wins and losses that you're taking. So it's tough, man. It really is. But I think it's a fascinating deal when it comes to recruiting anyways, of having kids where Arkansas, doesn't even have the high level talent in the state that they once did. But that's why getting players like this, where it's like, hey, you may not be in Arkansas, but there's the Arkansas connection there. Similar like Ryan Mallett. Ryan Mallett didn't live in Fayetteville. He was in Texarkana, but he grew up a Razorback fan. He wanted to be a Razorback. Like, could you imagine having him go somewhere else instead of your school? Oh, wait a minute. He did for a second. But luckily he came back. So anyways, hate the story. We'll see if more comes out from it, but definitely a fascinating thing to look at. Let's go ahead and get to your chats and check the vibe of it, presented by our friends over at Basis Health, where they're changing the way healthcare is delivered by providing mobile medical visits to the comfort of your very own home. A doctor will come to your home for urgent care, primary care, hydration, and so much more. It's Basis Health. They are here for you when and where you need them the most. You can learn more at basishealth.org today. All right, so to get in some of your chats real quick, I'll just start with Arkansas like this. He said, never forget when Jaquin Jackson macked on the UAPB cheerleaders after scoring a TD. That was pretty great.
That was good stuff.
Yeah. He had already won me over before that, but that was the official, this is my guy moment.
Yep. Yeah.
He started the year. He had like 9 touchdowns in the first 2 games. Like he started the year on a tear, man. It
was insane.
Yeah. And I think it was probably the most money I won on Arkansas last year in football for the SARACEN was I think it was the Oklahoma State game. Yeah. Jaquin Jackson was like plus 500 or something to have a multi touchdoad game, and he had
100 yards and 2 touchdowns, and he got the 2 touchdowns early, and then ended up getting the 100 yards, but he got off. He had 75 in the first 2 quarters, and then inched his way up and barely got the 100. It was crazy.
Yeah, that was wild. Heartbroken Hawk says Taylor Green will have over 1,000 yards, but the stats won't show up because they take out sack yards. I think he finishes around 900, which true. That's probably what will be the case. Also, Kingsley says, I feel like we might be underselling the offensive line for the sake of overselling a running back. If we have a better line than we've had, then any of these guys can be able to break out. So I think that there's some truth to that, but yeah, the offensive line's a big deal, but you still have to have some sort of quality running back. You still have to have somebody that can be consistent and be healthy to be able to do all those things too. So.
Well, and herein lies the real issue that we have with this Razorback offense going into 2025. The offensive line, we like to think will be better, but we don't really know because there's just 4 question marks throughout it. The running backs, we think they're okay, but we don't really know because you have 2 question marks there. The receivers, that's a real question mark. And so it's there's not really an area outside of Taylor Green that you're okay, I know for a fact that's going to be better. And so it's like, yeah, we're trying to have this running back conversation, but we don't know what the O-line is going to look like. We can't really talk about the O-line because we don't know what the weapons are going to be like. It's kind of that's the issue here.
Also, too, Hickory Hawk says, y'all sleeping on Maddox Lassiter, best fullback in the country. I don't even think he's a fullback. He's the utility, dude. You can do it all.
We are very woke on Maddox Lassiter on this program, buddy.
I guarantee you we've talked about Maddox Lassiter more than any outlet in the state, and it's not even close because we've talked about him like 3 times.
Yeah, I love me some Maddox Lassiter, man. That was a fun story. That's one of my favorite memories, low key, on this show, especially in the early days where we just pulled up his page and we're reading off all those ridiculous things that he did in high school. The Jackie Moon of high school football is unreal. And the guy comes here and he's just doing big things. My guy.
It was crazy whenever at Warren High School when he was singing "Love Me Sexy" before the games. That was kind of crazy when
it was wild. They got rid of the tapes from that. I'm sure we could scrounge it up somewhere.
Yeah, have to. Yeah, he's a guy.
Family, if you're listening, get us.
I want him to be on the field for all. Like anytime he comes on the field, I'll be like, okay, I'm feeling good right now. Whatever's about to happen, I'm feeling great about. So, shout out to Net for being a member for 2 months. Appreciate it. He says, keep up the good work, gentlemen. My only and go-to channel for all things Arkansas.
Appreciate that.
It's a great profile right there, man.
Love that. Yeah.
Oh,
you look great.
Yeah. Man, that was a fun time putting out that video with Cal. And then he's like, I do not have a beard. It's like having to tell everybody. It's like,
he was like walking his dog. We're like, where are you, man?
Yep. Just like, and he's like, oh, it's in Fayetteville. And I'm like, dude, I'm from Fayetteville and I've never seen that area before in my life. Like, what is happening here? Hey, Nolman, our guy, has also been a member for 2 months. Appreciate it. He says, Lassiter going to kick a 60-yard field goal and block a field goal in the same game this year. Dude,
he will.
Let's get Saracen on that prop bet. Yeah. I'll put money on it.
He's going to be like the cat who did the inside the park home run and the grand slam in the same game the other day. He's going to one-up it in football.
Yeah, exactly. Let's see. We got Jake on our Facebook page saying, we've got to allocate more of the revenue sharing to basketball and maybe baseball, something we have a chance to win a title in. We aren't going 6-2 in SEC play to make a run in football. We're more likely to go 2-6.
I think the other part of it with basketball and baseball right now is, I mean, they're going to have a solid share of that revenue compared to their peers, like the other schools in the conference they compete with. But they're also in a position because of their success, because of the popularity and the relationships with their particular coaches, to where their guys are going to be able to get those NIL deals on top of it to sweeten the pot, I think, a little bit easier than maybe they're getting for football, if I'm being honest.
And as much as I would love to get on board with this idea, football revenue paid for the entire university last year. Like, as bad of a situation as Arkansas is in from a financial revenue, all this standpoint, football was actually one of their big wins. They made like $40 million last year in revenue from the football program, and that's just like profit. And I mean, baseball, I think they operated at a minus. You know what I mean? So it's like, as much as we would love to be like, hey, yeah, let's just, we can be better in those sports. Even going 6-6 in football is like, does way more for your university than going to the College World Series in baseball. And I hate to admit that, but that's just the reality of the situation.
Well, also, and I get if you're talking about this year, Stubbs, of going 2-6 and everything, but I still believe at Arkansas you can have a good football program. Like, I still believe that there can be, with the right people in place, you be a program that is at least competing for something. Are you going to go and win a national championship? It'd be probably the most difficult. No, it's not even probably. It would be the most difficult sport to win one in at Arkansas, just plain and simple. But I don't believe of just because you've had a tough run here with some awful to below average coaches that you're just like, wow, it's just, let's just not worry about it. We're going to go 2-6 all the time. Let's just reallocate money elsewhere. I just don't see that being the case. Let's see. Ty Langston says, I don't understand why y'all keep bringing up revenue sharing as something that's supposed to help us. Did it not go in effect to all the schools? Again, I don't know if this is towards the chat or towards us, but
it keeps getting brought up because it's been Sam Pittman's get out of jail free card for the last year and a half. He's the one who's been bringing it up. I mean, that was the entire conversation going into portal season last year was, revenue share, man, revenue share. We got money. It's people been able to outbid us by hundreds of thousands of dollars. We just couldn't compete with that. Now we can. closing the gap. It's a level playing field. This has been his stump every time he's had a microphone in front of his damn face for the last year. And now it's a thing. And the reason we keep bringing it up is because it is a thing, and that was supposed to be what helps this program. Yet we continue to hear about how they're broke and they're not able to compete with the offers that some of these other kids are getting there. So they're moving on and taking other guys, or not pursuing certain in-state players because they want too much money in NIL or revenue share, or just money in general. That's literally why we're bringing it up, because this is kind of the when we were trying to be sold on the Sam Pittman era and how it was going to get better and how they were going to take the next step from what they did last year and all that. This was literally 100% of the conversation, and we're here now and nothing's changed.
Yeah. The take that Ty has here, we coined in the fall, and we were actually yelled at for coining that take. Like, people were really mad about it. They were like, no, come on, just hear them out. Let's see what happens. Let's see how they do in the portal. And so, yeah, we got immediate results on that, but yeah, that's why we keep bringing it up. One, because people keep asking about it, but two, just because we're holding the U of A accountable, because that was cited as their plan.
Sorry, guys, real quick. This just broke news, and it pisses me off. The NCAA has issued another transfer portal window. Didn't take one away, added a transfer portal window, July 7th through August 5th. So you can now enter into the portal.
What sport? Any sport?
It is the one-time waiver allowed to D1 athletes that programs place on the designated student athlete list to enter the transfer portal between the 7th and the 5th. The deadline for FBS programs to assign DSAs is Sunday, July 6th. So
this is going to be inconsequential. It's for the walk-on players who thought that they were getting cut for roster limits.
So that's what the designated student athlete's for?
I'm almost positive that's what this is. I'd heard something about this. I need to read about it, but I think that it's for those players specifically, and I don't think it's like a full-on portal for anybody deal.
Okay. Well, let me in fact read this from Ross Dellinger, because maybe this is what he was reported. It says an athlete is eligible to be placed on a DSA list if he/she would have or had already been removed from the school's roster due to the new House mandated roster limits and was an eligible member of the team during the 2024-2025 season. Okay. Well, the way that it was phrased on the headline, I was like, are you kidding me? We're going to have to deal with this crap another month of nonsense?
Dude, I just had the biggest pit in my stomach when I was like, no, not again.
Okay, good deal. Like
that until next year.
I know. I was like, yeah, that's all we need is just Razorback football. Just having like 10 more guys enter in the portal here in the next couple of weeks.
Oh,
like, great.
I was sitting there thinking, I'm like, bro, that this Razorback staff better put about 14 people on that list based on everything else.
Yeah. Jeez, man, that was okay. Well, good. That makes a lot more sense. And that's a lot better.
Okay.
Good deal. All right. Continuing on. Let's see. You got Zeke saying you also have to think that they feel like they can keep those 3 stars and develop them. You bring in those top guys and they leave if they don't get the playing time or the money bump.
Zeke, I understand your heart is in the right place, and I'm sure you probably believe this statement that you're saying. I've compiled a list to help you out, though. I've compiled a list from the 120 players who are listed on the Razorback football roster. Here's the entire list of people who started their career at Arkansas, did not transfer, did not do anything else, and have gone on to contribute in any meaningful way whatsoever. Campbell, that's a good one. That was a class of 2021, good one. Maddox Lassiter, walk on 2 years ago. Amarian Harris, who a good 4-star prospect, really struggled last year, but he's on this list. Quincy Rhodes, good pickup, good player entering his 3rd year. And you could maybe count Kobe Branham. Because I think he's projected to play. That right there is the entire list. You have a roster of 120 people. And like you say, they want to keep these guys and develop them. Well, when are they going to start doing that? They haven't been doing that Pittman's entire tenure. They've actually lived off the portal way more. As much as fans say, like, hey, they should be spending that money in the portal, Arkansas has been using the portal just to stay above water. So, like, this is not going to all of a sudden become the program that develops and maintains talent. Arkansas has led the SEC 3 years in a row, most portal outgoing guys during portal season. Like, I understand this thought process. It does not reflect the reality of the world that we live in today or have been in the last 5 years.
And of the short list of names that you put out there, some of those were 4 stars. Some of them were good recruits coming in. We're passing on now. Arkansas is passing on guys like that to go with the 3 stars who would need more development and more time theoretically to be able to step in and contribute.
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right. Let's see. Ben Stone just wants to know, do you think being in the SEC helps or hurts us with recruiting?
Don't let anyone tell you anything other than that it helps you. Technically, we can do the argument and say, well, if they went to the Big 12, they would go 10-2 every year, blah, 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 blah. If anyone tells you anything other than it helps Arkansas tremendously, they are lying. And you can look at the standings and say, well, Arkansas's 13-14 in the SEC every year in recruiting, but compare them to the rest of the country. There's only like 10 programs each year from other conferences that have a more talented recruiting class than Arkansas. Even with Arkansas being as bad as they are and being the doorstep of the SEC, they still field a more talented football team than 98% of the country.
Right. Yep. Charlie Collins hasn't done anything yet. Quincy Rhodes, Andrew said it.
I said his name. Yeah.
Also, Cody just wants to know, Curtis, talk to me like I'm a toddler when it comes to revenue share in basketball. Can Tyson throw money? We going to cheat? I'm cool with cheating if it produces a Final Four.
So revenue sharing is the school paying the players based on the revenue that they generate as an athletic department. That is what revenue sharing is. That's not replacing NIL. It's in addition to, right? Because it's the players who are on the field or on the court or whatever, and they're responsible for a lot of the eyeballs that are, watching them and, the revenue, all that. So now they're getting a slice of that pie. That's what revenue share is. NIL is still a thing. They're just trying to regulate it. So any NIL deal that's over $600, which for a basketball player at Arkansas will be all of them, by a wide margin there, like add 2 zeros or whatever, 3 zeros, hell, who knows? That's got to be submitted through this clearinghouse. So it's called NIL Go. They send it to them and they evaluate it. So they take what they deem to be the fair market value based on the athlete, based on the deal and all the ins and outs of it. And then they send a recommendation to what's called the College Sports Commission saying, like, hey, this passes the smell test or it doesn't. And then they determine whether you can do it or not, essentially. So the thing about that is they're trying to eliminate the Tysons of the world and the impact that they can make of just buying rosters with boosters and power donors and stuff like that. So these deals that get placed through the NIL clearinghouse need to be like actual, what NIL was really intended for, like business deals, right? It would need to be like Tyson Chicken saying, hey, Malik Thomas, you're going to eat a Razorback nugget on a commercial and we're going to pay you X amount of dollars for it. Not John Tyson is going to hand you $2 million in cash to come play basketball here. That kind of stuff is probably still going to happen. That kind of stuff is going to be under the table, but there will still be legitimate NIL deals.
Correct.
I don't know if that was toddler language, but that's,
Well, toddlers these days, they're pretty woke on everything. So yeah, if you didn't understand that, I don't know what to tell you. It's a complicated thing, but it's also like, if you just strip it down to the basics, it made sense to me at least. So, okay, we'll get into more of your chats, but let's go ahead and jump into who our heavy hitters are, presented by our friends over at HD Roofing and Construction, because as we all know, storms can hit unexpectedly. So you have to make sure your roof is in good shape, whether it's summertime, wintertime, the rain, the snow, ice, anything like that. You need to make sure your roof is always good to go, because if it's not, that's going to be problematic for your entire home, not just you as a person, but for your entire home. So make sure you get that free inspection with HD Roofing. When you choose HD Roofing, you can rely on that professionalism, top quality materials, and expert installation for all of your roofing needs. You can call them today at 501-428-0429. You can also check them out online at hdarkansas.com. All right, so for our heavy hitters, I'll go ahead and put this up. You guys know Red Panda?
Please
Yeah.
Red Panda took a fall, and it's one of the great halftime performances of all time. But this was tough right here.
Certainly hit the floor heavily.
Yep, that's it. First off, the fact it's at the WNBA Commissioner's Cup, didn't know that was overly a thing. But either way, the reason she's my heavy hitter, and not just for the joke that Andrew made, which was pretty good, but the reason that she's actually my heavy hitter too is because there are certain things like at halftime shows and whatnot that are cringy and dumb and weird. But there's something about like the goats of halftime shows, like Quick Change or the Red Panda, that is like that person has to go out there and perform in front of thousands all the time. They make bank, but to do this special skill where she has a unicycle and she throws bowls on her head. And you know what? She's not above injury. She's an athlete. She's not above it. And she's been hurt before too. This isn't the first time she's getting hurt, but she keeps getting back up on that unicycle and she keeps throwing those bowls on her head. And so she will see the extent of the injury, but every single time she has bounced back in a major way. And I applaud her and respect her for it. She has so much money. She probably could just retire and call it good, but she doesn't. She keeps getting on the unicycle, and she's my heavy hitter because even in injury, she wants to entertain all of you folks out there at halftime for meaningless games. So she's my heavy hitter for today.
I like that. I like that a lot, John. I too had Red Panda on my list. I had 3. I had Red Panda on the list. Do we remember what game she was at this past season?
For Arkansas?
Yeah.
Emma?
Maybe it was Bama. She had a couple of drops,
right.
but she still wound up nailing the finale at the very end. This is awesome.
Yes.
She's been doing it for she's getting older, you know. She probably ain't as good as she used to be, but good grief, man. It's unreal.
I know.
She ain't as good as she once was, but she's as good once as she ever was. And as Curtis and I learned the other day in our Airbnb in Omaha, it's not about how hard you get hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward.
I used to hold you right here.
I used to hold you here. You're never going to believe this.
Oh, man. Yeah, that was you're right about the halftime stuff, John. That performance at halftime of Bama was better than the Simon Says game at halftime of Oklahoma. I was sitting by your buddy Brennan for that. And
oh my gosh. I bet you he had something to say about it too. Like, yeah, he's always got something to say about it, man.
He got bored. He was showing me his half court shot. And
sounds also about right. Making sure you see that. Jeez.
Yeah. So that was one of mine too. I have one that I'm pretty sure we're all going to have. So I'll save that if we want to do it at the end or whatever. Yeah. But the other one I just saw right at the beginning of the show here. I guess Mike Brown has to be a heavy hitter. He won the war of attrition with the New York Knicks. He outlasted John Calipari and Don Staley and everybody else who was involved or not involved. And the Knicks, who made it to a game 6 of the Eastern Conference Finals and fired Tom Thibodeau, they have now upgraded their franchise by rolling with Mike Brown. There we go.
That dude just will not die, man. Just
won't go away. Will not go away.
It's stupid. I talk about people failing up. I have never in my life seen someone like Mike Brown. So he, just to give everybody an idea real quick, he coached at Cleveland at the Cavaliers with LeBron and all that for 5 years. He was the coach of the Lakers for 2 years. He went back to Cleveland for a year, and then he was at Sacramento for 3 years, and now he's back at the Knicks. And the greatest run that he made was his second year when they went to the NBA Finals with LeBron and everything. But other than that, it's just been pretty disappointing. I don't know. I think it's just funny. Nothing against him, but it's like, really? Of all that, you think that he's going to be your saving grace? Like, why Mike Brown? You've seen him he's coached some of the greatest players that's ever played. And he has nothing to show for it. So
I just want to know what the plan was. I was surprised when they fired Tibbs anyway, because at the time I was thinking, I'm sure they have higher expectations, over there maybe, and they haven't won in a long, long time, and so I'm sure they were disappointed and losing the Pacers or whatever. But who the hell knows what's going on behind the scenes? But good grief, did you really think you were gonna get a coach that was that much better? And they had so many people telling them no. It's like, oh, we would like to talk to Quinn Snyder. No, sorry, no, permission not granted. And you get Mike Brown. That's what happens.
I think they went Mike Brown because they're about to trade for LeBron. Cat for LeBron is about to happen, and they think Mike Brown is the right coach for LeBron. They asked his opinion.
There we go.
But my heavy hitter is the Cam Kojal Outdoor YouTube channel, which is cooking. I think we've talked about it a couple times on the show. It's been great, but yesterday was their best episode. He had Vahiva Aloy, Kahio Aloy, Justin Thomas, Reese Robinette. They stopped at the pool and talked to some of their teammates. It was like a 45-minute video. A lot of fishing in the video, but they also there's like 20 minutes of them going to Walmart, going to get food, doing whatever. But I wanted to play 2 clips from this brilliant video. that I just want us to discuss for a second.
We're kind of worried as friends for the Aloys. Reese, tell them why we're worried.
I mean, it's not a bad problem to have because they got their heads on straight. Brake pad, that's crazy.
Actually, how do you word it? They just don't talk to any women.
These are brake pads.
That's how I would word it. They're scared of girls, which isn't a bad thing, but
because they have one thought on their mind, and that's basic. Oh, I'm got my.
They don't talk to women. Thoughts?
Scared of girls.
Yeah,
that's hilarious.
I think Vahiva actually in the video as they were going to the pool said, "I'm scared of the girls." Like at one point said it, obviously leaning into it a little bit, but seems like this is a thing.
I mean, listen, it's like you got to have your focus on two things, because chicks dig the long ball, as we know, but also, you're either got to be locked in at baseball and be really good at it, or if you want to be locked in on the women, you got to be really good at it. It's hard to balance both and be elite at both, but at least as long as you're as good at one, maybe he's saving himself. Maybe he doesn't want to have any distractions because we know there's been times stuff with Razorback baseball's caused distractions with the relationship. So I'm okay with it. Maybe you could have just had one or two to hang out with you, but I mean, I'm okay with it.
I don't. That's impressive willpower, honestly, because there's no doubt in my mind these are highly successful, known around campus, good looking Hawaiian young men on a college campus. There are girls all over those dudes throwing themselves at him. What's Vahiva really doing there? Haram. Like, I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know if I'm buying it.
I think honestly, this is a failure on the girls at campus at U of A. Have any of y'all just read the internet and realized Vahiva Aloy is going to be an extremely rich man in like a month? You better hurry up because it's going to be harder to get on that bus. But when there's like $5 million attached to it, I like what Big Country said though. He said they got their heads on straight. It's not a bad problem to have, but they don't talk to women. Justin Thomas Jr., by the way, does talk to women. Confirmed heavily throughout the episode that he likes to talk to women. Here's the last one. This is them talking about their favorite moments from the season. You'll never guess what Kahio Aloy's was.
When V went solo squad against Ole Miss.
I would say mine is just watching the Aloy brothers all season.
All right.
I don't know. Say something funny.
Oh, watching T-Bone's aura when he catches a fly ball.
I didn't do that.
Go.
Oh, my favorite is when we were watching Lilo and Stitch.
Yes.
Ohana meets family.
We should vlog the movie. We should vlog the movie again tonight, bro. In 3D.
This is just good stuff. That's just good stuff right there. Honestly, listen, this is just the reason why I think people would love this video is because we really never see most of these guys. Like, we never really see their personalities at all. Like, they're very shy and reserved kids, but just seeing guys be dudes, seeing them hanging out with each other and messing with each other. Cam Kojal kept having to cut the video or do something because they would start talking about something that he wants it to be a family friendly YouTube channel, and it's pretty funny stuff.
Dude, I just know, I can hear it. There's some fan out there, a Razorback fan, who's saying to themselves after hearing that, they're like, maybe if they would have just focused on playing baseball instead of watching Lilo and them Disney movies, you got to go out there and hit the ball. Maybe that would have helped your average a little bit. And you would have showed up in the College World Series. And it's just going to be all right. Like, Dave Van Horn ain't going to win one as long as he's letting the kids their favorite moment be watching a Disney movie.
Right. Watching them cartoons instead of film. God.
Just now I'm pissed that you showed me that, Andrew, because that's all it's going to turn into. It's going to be a stupid article on a stupid website. Be like, is the Razorback baseball team losing focus? Is that what cost them in the World Series? Like, all right.
By the way, there's also things, again, you can react to it that way, John, and I'm sure there are going to be a lot of people that do that. There's also some scoops you can catch on to. One, Nolan Souza heavily featured in this video. No sling, no nothing. Casting just fine, fishing just fine. I don't think he had a ton of success out on the pond. I don't remember, but shoulder seems to be doing okay, hanging in there. And then the Hawaiians have an Instagram account now called Pole Bendas. Bendaahs, Pole Bendas. And they just post like their fishing stuff. And Souza was fishing the other day with Carson Wiggins, who is also out of his brace, or at least he appeared to be in the video.
Well, as you know, Nolan Souza better hope that he brings it to start next season, because if he doesn't, it's going to be, if he's just focused on more about rehab instead of going fishing.
Rehabbing instead of bending poles, buddy. Come on.
Yeah, jeez, man. Golly. I can't wait for that to happen. And he's like, all you people watching, you're like, oh, that's ridiculous. No, you don't know fans. You don't know Razorback fans. There will be some that out there that does stupid stuff like that. So yeah, this is the other heavy hitter, which is something that's, I guess, going viral here in the state of Arkansas, at least. Jon Gruden, old Grude, the man that's been rumored to be the next Razorback head football coach for over a decade, where once was rumored to have had a secret meeting at the powerhouse with Jeff Long as the athletic director, because he was going to be the next head coach. A man to where truly people said, depending on the color of tie he wears when he's on Monday Night Football, depends on if he's going to be taking the Razorback job or not. Well, he has been doing these videos for a while where I commend him. It's just funny. He walks into a room with a box of something that somebody sent him. He's like, "Yeah, got to check out these things that so-and-so sent me." Well, Arkansas sent him some swag, and it's a 10-minute video. So, I don't know how long we'll go through it. Maybe we go through it all. We'll see. But that's some really great Jon Grudenisms here. So we'll walk through this and react to this.
Hey, this box is heavy, and it comes from Arkansas. The Arkansas Razorbacks were one of my favorite friends and arguably my favorite sports hero of all time graduated. John Daly, man. I was his caddy at a golf tournament. I play golf with him once or twice, 3 times a year. All right! I hit it! Oh, man! Oh, man! I love this guy. We have more fun together. I had 3 wedges. I couldn't hit any of them. What wedge do I hit from 60 yards away? He goes, bring him out here. We went out to the practice range. I give him one of my wedges. He hits it twice. He doesn't hit it very good. He breaks it over his knee. He goes, well, we don't have to worry about that one now. We've had a lot of fun together, me and Daly. But this box gives me chills because I got to go up to Arkansas and speak at one of their Frank Broyles luncheons. Frank Broyles is the all-time legendary coach in my mind. I picked him up to speak at our clinic when I was a young man. Frank Broyles, great announcer, great coach, man, for the Razorbacks. He won about 150 games and rarely lost. He was a great announcer, too. He was up there with Keith Jackson all those years. That's a touchdown. That was a good run by him, Keith. He really straightened out that stiff arm, and he went north and south, and he was gone. Keith.
Okay, first off, he's got to work on that Frank Broyles accent, man.
That seemed derogatory. I didn't like that.
Yeah. But at least he's got that. So here you go. So he opens the box, already got a ton of stuff in there. But shout out to him for the Frank Broyles shout out and all that. He knows his history. He knows his stuff.
Jackson and Frank Broyles. Oh, my God. You talk about a football factory, man. The Arkansas Razorbacks. A lot of people say, what is a Razorback? Well, back in the day, they had this old coach, Bezdegger. I can't remember his name. It's like 1909. He said, our team played like a wild bunch of Razorbacks. That became their nickname. And these doggone Razorbacks, man, you don't want to go to Fayetteville. There's 32,000 crazy football students. They come to these games and they raise hell. There must be more Arkansas hats here than I've ever seen before. Would you look at that? The Razorback mascot, his name is Tusk. And my friend David Basil, who runs the Frank Broyles events up there, he's a great linebacker for Arkansas. Basil and this other friend of his, I can't remember what his name, Stokes. I think they got together and they said, hey, Basil, find us a wild hog that we can use as our mascot. And I think Basil did that. I think he's responsible for finding.
So hold on.
He's responsible for finding Tusk?
Is this true? I need to ask Baz about that. And maybe it is. But yeah, I'm just wondering if it's like, hey, Baz, need to find a wild hog somewhere and make it our mascot.
Yeah, go find one anywhere on this planet.
Yeah. I will take a break from designing trophies and I will find a wild hog.
Yep, I got you. I need to ask Baz about that. If that's the case, that makes it even funnier if that's the case. But all I was shocked because like all this stuff's at Alumni Hall, by the way, so it must have been sent from them.
The Razorbacks mascot. His name is Tusk. He comes to every game. They even have a girl mascot. Her name is Suey, S-O-U-E.
He didn't remember that one. He had to look over. He had it written down somewhere. Suey.
Believe it. And they run around going, whoa, Pig Suey. I'm like, what the hell are they doing? What are they doing? It's like some old hunter's chant from England. Whoa, Pig Suey. I got to do that some more. Would you look at this? It's a freaking unbelievable helmet. Frank Broyles, Bowden Wyatt.
Okay, real quick. Guys, that's the old school logo from Razorbacks. Just throwing it out there because people are like, wait, does this mean they're going back to it? I don't know if they are or not, but hey, you got the old school logo there on a Razorback helmet. So, for what it's worth.
Lou Holtz, Ken Hatfield. I mean, my friend Houston Nutt. Bobby Petrino was the head coach. Now he's back as the offensive coordinator. Would you look at that right there? Brett Bielema, coach there. And now they got Sam Pittman. There it is, Tusk.
It's a hat.
Put it on.
That's just great. Woo! Pig Suey! I love this hat. Look at this. Arkansas equipment. You know, when you think about the Razorbacks, they put another helmet in here.
No way.
Would you look at this? Is this awesome? I love their uniforms.
Quentin Jackson
You
helmet.
think about the football icons that have walked through Fayetteville. How about Jerry Jones, the owner of the Dallas Cowboys? How about Jimmy Johnson, Hall of Fame coach? How about Barry Switzer, all that he did? How about Pat Summerall? Remember the announcer up there? Very rarely said a lot. Emmitt Smith, 30, 10, touchdown Cowboys. And then John Madden would go into it.
I'm Pat Summerall here with my colleague John Madden.
I love Pat Summerall, man. You know, Pat Summerall was a great announcer. Look at that. Is this sweet?
Mm-hmm.
Unbelievable. You know, Butch Davis, the old coach of the Browns. A third helmet. 3 helmets. I'm telling you, this is phenomenal, man. When you look at the defensive players, whoa! Pig Suey, the defensive
2 O's, by the way.
Yep.
2 O's. I just want to point that out.
players that have come through Arkansas, it's astonishing. Ex-New England Patriots. Guys like Trey Flowers. How about Billy Ray Smith? You know, when I was coaching for the Green Bay Packers, they had a safety. How come I can never do this? They had a safety named Steve Atwater for the Denver Broncos. He would smash you, man. Big time. Here's a letter. Look at that. Just
the job offer.
Coach Gruden, we already know you look good in red, but can't wait to see you in the Hogs swag our boys from Razorback Equipment have put in this box for you. Call those Hogs, woo, Pig Suey. Billy Ray Smith. Look at this football we got. Is that sweet?
Sweet.
You love it, don't you?
I do.
I mean, some of the ball players.
Nice.
Huh?
Look at
Is
that.
unbelievable? Check this out.
Sweet.
I love it. They used to have Ken Hamlin in their secondary. They used to have Chris Houston at corner.
Sick.
This is Peyton Hillis, one of my favorites. He was on the cover of Madden, the ex-Cleveland Brown badass. They had Darren McFadden, Peyton Hillis, Felix Jones. And my favorite running back, no disrespect, was Gary Anderson. He played right down here for the Tampa Bay Bandits. And here's the next Raider, McFadden. God, he was good. They're the first team to really run the Wildcat. Look at these gloves, Jake. Would you look at these? You like this right here? Does that make you feel good?
Yeah.
You like the LA Rams, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
How about Cam Curl at safety? You like him? They got another box here. This is one of the great boxes we've ever had. They have had some really good quarterbacks. I've had 2 of them on my show. I've had Ryan Mallett. I've had Tyler Wilson. I never met Joe Ferguson of the Buffalo Bills. I don't think I'm doing this right. But Joe Ferguson played here. And then Ron Cagney. They had a lot of great quarterbacks. What is this? What is that? That is so cool. Is that exclusive to Arkansas or what? But you start thinking about Hillis and McFadden, and you start thinking about these guys. Don't forget Barry Foster of the Pittsburgh Steelers went to Arkansas. You know what Frank Broyles said one time? What you see on film is what you coach. That stood with me my entire career as a coach. If your team's jumping off sides, missing tackles, lackluster effort, you're coaching that. Frank Royals taught me that. What you see on film is what you coach. You know, Jerry Eckwood played at Arkansas. Played fullback for my dad down here in Tampa, you know. He was the lead blocker for Ricky Bell. I got all kind of Arkansas memories. Look at that underwear. They must think I need it or something. They got a lot of great traditions. Look at these shoes.
Oh, sweet.
You like those right there?
Yeah, those are cool.
Yeah, you do. Man, I was with the Raiders. We picked up.
I was curious, like, how did you know those were Razorback shoes? I guess they're just black and white, maybe. I don't know.
Maybe there's a small hog on the back somewhere. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe so. Anyways.
Up Darius Philon, an ex-defensive lineman of the Chargers. He came in out of Arkansas and kicked butt. Look at these flip-flops, will you? You like those?
Those the Brett Bielema.
Tusk. Suey. The Arkansas Razorbacks. You ever heard of Walmart? Guess who owns Walmart? Jim Walton. You ready to go to college? Arkansas. And I'll give you about 115 billion reasons to love the Razorbacks. Man, it's freaking awesome. Look at that Arkansas helmet. You love that, don't you? Mm-hmm. How about basketball? You know, there were years where they had Eddie Sutton. They had Nolan Richardson. He was their coach. And they were always in the finals, man. Close to winning it all. Sidney Moncrief, Ron Brewer, Corliss Williamson. I mean, there are so many guys that tread around on that basketball floor. Bobby Portis. I mean, Alvin Robertson. Look at Arkansas basketball, Arkansas football, and Arkansas golf. What else do you need besides Pig Suey? I love saying that. Let's go, Razorbacks! And I was down there at the Manning Passing Academy last week playing catch with Taylor Green. Guess what? 6'6" with the Rocket. I bet Bobby Petrino, Coach Pittman, and the Razorbacks are ready to roll. Let's go. Let's freaking go. And you know what? When you talk about wide receivers, they had Lance Allworth, known as Bambi, played there. The Titans got Treylon Burks. I mean, Hunter Henry snatching balls for the Patriots. They have it all at Arkansas and Fayetteville. Get there. Pixel. Woo!
Dude, is this the best thing that's happened to the program since the Hunter Henry heave?
It's up there, man. Like, that's why I had to feel like you had to play the whole video. It was just banger after banger when it came to his discussions and his players and his recall. It was awesome.
I love that man so much.
Man.
Darius Philon and Cam Curl got a reference, bro. That was crazy.
Yeah. And I love it. Just, yeah, all over. Even when he's talking about basketball, he's like Eddie Sutton, Nolan Richardson, Ron Brewer, Sidney Moncrief, Bobby Portis.
Alvin Robertson got
Alvin Robertson, like just going all over the place. He's going
to be like, hi, Madden.
Yeah, just going out there. Ricky Scott. Like, yeah, just throwing names, man. That's why, like, it was a long video, but man, that was awesome. Like, worthy of a heavy hitter for sure.
He's going back on the hot board.
Yeah, he has to.
Winner of the press conference, no doubt.
Because all he has to do is just do that use that exact same speech. And everybody will be falling in love. You don't even have to talk about X's and O's or what style of football. No, he's just got Darren McFadden, Felix Jones, Peyton Hillis. You know, they invented the Wildcat, by the way. Like, it's just do those things, and everybody will just fall in love with you.
I mean, 10 minutes is a long time to be talking about one athletic department. And there wasn't a ton of dead air, man. He had a lot to say. I hope that what I'm about to say doesn't ruin this, but one of my buddies, they bought their cousin who was getting married a cameo from Jon Gruden to like congratulate him on getting married. And he sent back like a 5-minute video and he was like giving him marriage advice. And he's like saying their names. And he's like, you got to listen to your wife, man. You're happy wife. And like just giving him this whole thing. He's Jon Gruden's one of a kind, man. He's one of one for sure. Just awesome football guy, but also just a legendary personality. He's had a great run and he's only getting better, it seems.
Yeah, gets better with time. Love the video. Love the fact that, here soon, it's going to be coaching changes that may end up happening, but you're going to have Jon Gruden and Tony Vitello on the same staff. So just get ready for it, Razorback fans. It's coming. And John Calipari, I can't forget him. It's happening. It's might as well be set in stone. So awesome video. Thanks, Gruden, for the content and for the fun, because we always appreciate it. So getting into our final segment, as well as your chats and everything, but of course our summer topics, is presented by our friends over at Freedom Boat Club of Arkansas, because they give you access to all the boats when it goes to being on the lake or in the river without the commitment. You don't have to worry about the maintenance. You don't have to worry about dealing with anything like that. It is boating that fits your lifestyle, which is fun, flexible, and stress-free. They take care of the boat, so you can simply just enjoy the moment. And they have 3 locations in Arkansas, whether it's Lake Hamilton, the Greers Ferry Lake, or even on the Arkansas River. And another thing, in fact, somebody just tweeted this at us, talking about how Freedom Boat Club is awesome because it follows you all over the country. He says he used it in Pensacola and in Destin all the time, which is true. It's a club that follows you all around the country, not only here in Arkansas, but across all the United States. So make sure that you make this summer the best one yet for you. You can check out their website at freedomboatclubar.com. That's freedomboatclubar.com to learn more about the benefits of joining the club. So yeah, let's get to some of your chats first, and then we'll get to these summer topics real quick. Just appreciate the super chat from Sharkansas. He said, did you guys see the Ryan Hammer video where he was interviewing NBA draftees about the most intimidating places to play, and none of the SEC players said Bud Walton? Embarrassing.
Well, the guys he was talking to have probably not been in the SEC for more than 2 years, and during that stretch, it has not been an intimidating place to play at all, or much of a home court advantage, frankly. So that sucks. I hope it changes and gets back to what it was. It's a two-way street, right? Of the team just being better and playing better and being connected to the fan base, and also people showing up and getting crazy.
Yeah, I think some of those guys literally didn't even play at Bud Walton.
Right.
But like Walter Clayton, like he came to Bud Walton, but it was in like January when Arkansas was 0-3 in SEC. Like it wasn't really the same. And so honestly, it wasn't that stunning to me, but I'm with you, Arkansas. There should never be, more than like 2 players asked about their best venue and not say Bud Walton.
Make Bud great again.
That's right. Let's see. Also, the student section says, if you find luck on the pond, you'll find it on the field.
But not with the ladies.
Not with the ladies. No, sadly not.
By design. By design.
Shout out to Kingsley. He's been a member for 2 months. He says, 2 months member. Gratitude to and for y'all. Congrats on the year of a straight bangers. Keep killing it every day and keep making these haters mad. We will do.
We'll definitely do the last part. We know that.
It just comes so naturally for us, but we appreciate you, Kingsley. He also said, I have major leg surgery next Wednesday, so I'm going to need y'all to tap in on another level next week because I'm going to need the vibes to be high, certified bangers only. We got you, Kingsley. We got you. And hopefully you have a good surgery and everything goes well.
Back on your feet soon, man.
Yeah literally. Let's see. David, who's also been a member for 2 months, says, it's official. Gruden is a hog. Let's go. I mean, I can't argue that logic. It's set in stone. Get it going. And also, Ty Langston says, do y'all think a 9-win season would completely reverse the perception on Sam, or would people still want change? I think it would
completely reverse is maybe a stretch, but like it would drastically change the temperature of the entire situation, like without a doubt. And by the way, it should. Like if they go out and win 9 games, like that would be quite the feat. That would be shooting way above our expectations and national expectations. That would be an awesome year. And so it's like, yeah, when you're coming off an awesome year, the vibes are usually higher in your program. I'm sure there would still be some people that wanted Sam Pittman fired or would say it happened in spite of Sam instead of because of Sam. But yeah, if Arkansas wins 9 games this year, I don't think there's going to be as much animosity in the fan base as there is right now.
Yeah, I don't think so either. And I think I agree with you as far as reversing it. I don't think it'll change everyone's mind, but you can't sit there and say that if you get a 9-win season, saying go 9-3 especially, that you're not like pumped and excited and feeling great. Like it should be literally the most wins you've had in a single season since 2011 when Petrino was here. So also Jake says, can we all agree that Petrino is outdated in this day and age in football? Look at the offense last year. We had 10 personnel on the majority of third downs. Why not have our weapons, etc. in game for these? I mean, I don't think the Petrino offense is outdated.
Yeah, see, it's like, okay, we can talk about the 10 personnel thing and, them not having Has on the field, because that's a thing that we talked about and we were kind of frustrated with, and we're kind of like, man, why is he not as featured in the pass game? There was multiple times where they would have him in on third downs, but have him staying in to block, which that was more so on they didn't trust their protection. And so, look, we can talk about that specific decision. I don't know if you can jump all the way from, hey, he didn't feature Luke Has enough to he's outdated for modern college football, because 10 personnel is not like a I mean, obviously it's a personnel that's been around for a while, but it's like, I don't think being in 10 personnel is like a sign going 3 wide on third down. It's like, I don't think it's like that big of a sign of like, oh yeah, he's college football has left off without him. Arkansas's offense wasn't like, elite last year by any means. But I think the way that, they were they top 25 nationally in yardage, not top 25 in scoring, of course. Like, there's plenty of room for improvement, plenty of things they can do better, and we'll see if they've got pieces that fit their system. But I don't know if the last year was necessarily like a case of college football passing Petrino by. I think he's got a below average team, and he's trying to make them above average offensively.
Yeah. And then also, because about the Petrino deal too, I don't know. I know I'm a big Petrino fan and everything, but considering it's about progression and trajectory, and the offense of where it was 2 years ago and where it was last year was night and day. We'll see if it continues to improve this year, but it's about going in the right direction. I don't think anybody should have expected last season, after what Arkansas went through offensively the year before, for just like instant number top 3 offense in the SEC. Like, I just don't think that's a realistic expectation. So we'll see if it does after year 2 and what the progression looks like. But I just don't think that was ever the case. Okay. So again, we'll have some chats here as well, but I do want to do of course, there are 3 questions of sports, entertainment, and food when it comes to the summer dog days and the topics that we throw out there. But curious on what you guys think. We'll start with the sports one. Who is your favorite? Doesn't mean best, but the favorite athlete that only played 1 year in Razorback sports history. It can be football, basketball, baseball, anything. But who's your favorite athlete that only played 1 year at the University of Arkansas?
Justin Smith. Easy answer for me. I absolutely loved covering him. Great interview, thoughtful, awesome player. Was kind of really the catalyst of that team that got Arkansas over the hump, back into a second weekend, got them into that Elite Eight. They were so much better with him on the floor. That's my guy.
I like that. In the baseball realm, the one that jumped to my mind immediately was Trevor Ezell. 2019, started at first base, was awesome. SEMO, I guess he's now the hitting coach at SEMO. I liked him. He was a great, effective, and he was like at the forefront of like transfer hogs. In baseball, they haven't had a ton of 1 year guys. A lot of their best transfers have been 2 year guys. Like Vahiva's a 2 year transfer. Jace Borfin was a 2 year transfer. They've had some good 1 year guys though. But Trevor Ezell's kind of the one that jumps out. Basketball wise, Anthony Black I definitely like Anthony Black a lot more than I thought I could like a guy that was only in Fayetteville for like 9 months. Football, is there a football one, like a 1 year transfer that just absolutely crushed it?
There is one for me. Again, it's about my favorite one, but Felipe Franks. I love Felipe Franks.
That's a really good one. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. He was especially like, and I think it's not just because, his numbers were the most outstanding. They were solid, but it was like that dude walked into one of, if not one of the craziest and worst situations you could be in a program, where it's like, okay, you got a brand new guy as a head coach that's never been a head coach before at a program that's coming off of 2 and 10 years, and where you're having a COVID year, you get 10 straight SEC games, and the 2 games that got added to your schedule is Florida and Georgia. Like, just the amount of insanity that he had to go through. So, and he performed really well in that high level. So he's, to me, was number one.
He was really good. And he was coming off that ankle.
Yeah.
Or I guess he broke it. But he was really, really good. Way better than advertised. And was just the perfect, I can't think of a better bridge quarterback, in year 1 of a regime to see what you have in KJ and to get to him. That dude, he did more for stabilizing the program than Sam. Never mind. He was great. Loved Felipe Franks.
It was about as effective of a transfer portal pickup in terms of just what Arkansas needed and what Felipe Franks provided. Like you said, that kind of bridge 1 year to kind of set the tone for the program, because they needed just some veteran leadership, and he definitely provided that. I think he was also very beneficial for KJ and KJ's development in the Kendall Briles offense. I think he was very, and he embraced that. He embraced Arkansas and embraced that opportunity to be kind of that steadying, calming voice in the locker room. And that's a very good one. Basketball, there's actually like more than I realized with basketball, because Moses Moody was pretty damn good for 1 year as well.
I see the Drew Sanders pulls there in football.
I was going to say that one too.
Drew Sanders, a very good one. Very effective lone season in Fayetteville. Another baseball one, just kind of off the cuff, Trevor Steffen, because it came out of absolutely nowhere, him being the Friday night starter and a second-round pick. He's still pitching in the big leagues now. That's a good one too.
Yeah. Like I said, football, it's always a little bit tougher because usually you don't just have like 1 year players. Maybe, well, nowadays I think you probably do more so, but forever. But basketball is probably the notorious one for 1 year because I could, you mentioned Anthony Black, which was great, and Justin Smith, which was great. I think to even like, if you talk about one and done players like Moses Moody and how fun it was and how, him coming in with the pressure that he had on him to be like, hey, you got to carry this team. And he was like part of that team and leader of that team that got him to the Elite Eight after that so long of a situation. He was an in-state kid who left to go somewhere else to play high school ball and still was a Razorback. So like, that's the cool stories that you got to throw out there for him. So
I would like to submit Bayfall for discussion.
You can submit it all day long, but
I'd go Chance Moore over Bayfall for the mother.
Oh man, yeah. But say if we were, I always thought about like how mean it would be, and I would never do this. How mean it would be to be like taking the opposite, to be like, who is the worst 1 year player Arkansas? Like, you never want to do that. You never want to hate on anybody, but it could be pretty funny doing it in that way. Like my buddies like talked about a time where they wanted to do a who's the most hated Razorback of all time. I'm like, I'm not doing that. That'd be so mean. All right. So food wise, what is the greatest bag of chips that has ever been created?
Red Doritos, the original nacho cheese Doritos. Those are the goats for me.
That's my favorite chip. I will submit the honey barbecue twists.
Okay.
Those are good.
Those are good.
I felt like a different way, because I agree. Like the red Doritos are kind of the gold standard, I feel like. But if I wanted to get creative with it, I would probably say the jalapeno version of Cheetos. Big fan of those.
Oh, those are good. Not the hot Cheeto, not the red ones, but the jalapeno. Yes, those are really good. That's a great pull.
The jalapeno Cheetos. I'm also a huge fan of the, I think is it cheddar and sour cream Lay's? I'm a huge fan of those. So, I mean, I love chips in general, but it's hard to go against the gold standard. But if you had to get creative with it, there's stuff there. Because I'm weird, man. I like the freaking Fritos chili pie ones or whatever that is. I don't know if anybody else likes those, but I do. I'm the one that takes them out of that variety pack, the fun packs. So,
what y'all have a Pringles? Like any of the Pringles flavors y'all like?
I mean, I love Pringles. I mean, the OG flavor to me is great. I like the pizza flavor when I was a kid. I don't know if I still am that way. Honestly, okay. It's crazy. It's funny you bring that up, Andrew. Just a few weeks ago, it was like the 7-layer dip flavor Pringles, and they were actually pretty good. So, for what that's worth. Are you a Pringle guy? There's a
layer dip?
No, I was just trying to get your minds, help you get the ball rolling a little bit.
Was it Pringles? I think it was, John, that you said you tried it was like the Miller Lite flavor or whatever, and it was the worst thing you've
Man, do not do that. It was the beer can chicken flavor.
That's okay, yeah.
Disgusting. Never try that, folks. It was like, I won't say what I felt like it tasted like, but it was awful. So yeah, avoid those. Usually it's like those chips that have those unique flavors. I make the same mistake. I see it and I'm like, oh, that's unique and cool. I try it and I'm like, this isn't any good. And if they were any good, they'd stick around and they wouldn't just be a once in a blue moon. So
I get shamed for this a lot. And I was eating them the other day. Baked Lays are up there for me. I love baked Lays. I was never like crazy about just regular Lays, but the baked version, any flavor is good.
There's something about them. I like those. Were you guys Sun Chips people?
Oh yeah. Love Sun Chips.
Really.
I like the some flavors I don't care. Like the garden salsa one, I'm not crazy about, but some of the other ones I do like.
The Harvest Cheddar is the
Harvest Cheddar. That's the only one I've ever eaten.
Yeah, that's the one I go with. But I'm also a salt and vinegar chip fan. I don't know if anybody else is, but I love that. I love dill. I love all chips, man. I'm just being honest. Like,
now,
except for two, I do not like the flaming hot stuff with Cheetos. Or anything. Do not like flaming hot, and I don't like Takis. I'm just being honest. I don't like Takis.
I see some folks saying Cheez-Its. I think Cheez-Its and Goldfish and all that, those are crackers.
More cracker. Yeah.
Crackers.
Snacker.
Yeah.
Although, but I mean, hey, now like what's the Chex Mix? Chex Mix, if that counts as that's not a chip, really, I guess.
Yeah.
Chex Mix and Gardettos, those are up there for me.
Yeah. I don't think you could throw in an assortment of a bunch of different things and call it chips. You know what I'm saying? So
Fair enough.
Yeah, I think. Okay, glad we settled that debate of the chips. And finally, I was trying to think of how to word this, but we can kind of take it wherever we want. But entertainment-wise, what is the one music album, yes, kids, album, that you have played or listened to the most in your life? I can tell you mine, if that would give you some motivation. Mine is two of them. One, Linkin Park's Hybrid Theory, because I, grew up in that age. And the other one is Future Sex Love Sounds by Justin Timberlake.
It is a great album. It is a great album.
It is amazing. So
mine is, it's one of two. It's 1000% the same artist though. It's either Country Grammar or Nellyville. Is one of those two for sure.
Okay.
Regionally speaking, this makes sense, right?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Yeah.
Country Grammar was probably, I feel like, got to be his biggest, like, most commercial one, right?
Yeah.
For me, so again, we're kind of like there's a little bit of regional here too, because Lil Wayne, Carter 3 and Carter 4 were like peak of my childhood. Like I would just come home from school and listen to those. Carter 3, I don't know if I really listened in an album form. I would come home and go on YouTube and just be like, Mr. Carter, Lil Wayne lyrics or whatever, like watch those. Carter 4, I remember it came out when I was in 8th grade, and I remember purchasing it on iTunes, and my mom was pissed. It was like $15, and my mom was like, you better listen to that song or that album every day. And so I was like, bet I will. When I was in high school, a few Kevin Gates albums, Stranger Than Fiction had our baseball team in a chokehold. By Any Means by Kevin Gates, that had our baseball team in a chokehold. A few Drake albums, Take Care, Nothing Was the Same. I saw Drake in concert around that time period, so he was definitely up there. There was one other one that I had in my brain, but I'm blanking right now.
Well, if you think of that, Curtis, I'm going to ask if you had one of these, because I know I did. Sorry, Andrew. I know you're younger. Did you have the booklet of the CDs? Like, did you put all your CDs in? And like, dude, I still have mine. I still have it. And it is awful. Like, I just look in there and I'm like, this is cringe. I got Lil Jon and the East Side Boys. I got Yin Yang Twins. I have Incubus. I got Rage Against the Machine. I got so much nonsense in there. And then I have like 18 different burned CDs that I did not label. And they're just in there. And I have no idea what's on them. So
I had an Incubus in the rotation heavily. So that's a good one. I talked my dad into getting me chocolate starfish and hot dog flavored water.
Oh man. Yeah.
So that's probably really high on my list. Let's see. I gotta be honest, ahead of Nelly, like if we're talking about played the most, me and my buddies wore out No Strings Attached. Wore it out. So that actually might be the top one. If I got to be honest here.
What's y'all's favorite? Now That's What I Call Music edition.
I had a couple of those.
CD from that.
Yeah.
Actually, by the way, I remember the one I was trying to think of in college. This may make me sound like a child for sure. In college, Post Malone's album Stoney got a lot of run in my apartment. Me and my buddies listened to that a good bit. And so I'm just thinking, like, nowadays I don't listen to music that much as I did back then. So really it's more just like in a time period of my life when I was listening to music every day, what was I listening to? And those are the things. So I don't know if that makes me sound childish, but Post Malone definitely his first album was way up there in terms of playability.
I'm just telling you right now, I remember times where it's like, at least here in Fayetteville, you didn't want to go and buy your CDs at Walmart because they only had the edited version of the albums. They did not sell the a parental, what is it, the parental advisory required or whatever. They did not sell that. So you had to go to FYE, y'all remember that, or Hastings to be able to get the unedited version.
It's been a lot of time at Hastings.
Yeah,
Hastings
dude.
is a great spot. Do they still exist?
I don't think so. Not around here, at least.
Coffee spot.
I don't think they do. At least they don't around where we grew up, because had a buddy who worked there in high school and he wound up he like worked his way up to the manager of that place and he was distraught when it went away. So
man, yeah. And don't make just think about like now you just have Spotify or whatever that you pay $15 a month to listen to whatever. And there was a time where it's like you had to spend $15 just to get a CD that may suck, but you had one song on it that you really liked.
Yep.
Like,
dude, I remember when I was in literally kindergarten, first grade era, my sister bought a Sierra CD. And I guess it would have been maybe the Goodies album, which was popping in like 02, 03, if y'all remember.
Had that one. Yeah.
Dude, I probably actually listened to that one because every time I'd be in my sister's car for like a year, it was Goodies, it was 1-2 Step, it was it was all of that, dude. We were killing that. Were y'all listening to A Tribe Called Quest back in the day?
No, like it's one of their songs. Yeah. Yeah.
Every white boy went through a Tribe Called Quest phase, I feel like.
Well, I'm telling you right now, like I just because it depends on when you're listening to your music. It's like when you really got into it. Mine was like middle school, junior high, and then early high school. Dude, like Lil Jon was just featuring everything, and so I remember it's like if Lil Jon came out with a new song, no matter how absurdly dumb it was, as far as just the repeated lyrics, like we got to play this in the car in my Mercury Cougar driving to lunch with my subwoofers in the back to see if we can blow out the windows and blow out my alternator. Like anything Lil Jon was in was always going to be big.
Anything Ludacris, we were real big on. We had like a 15-minute drive to, believe it or not, I did this golf practice as a high school senior. There was always Ludacris. Confessions, Usher.
Oh,
that was a big one.
Yeah,
exactly. So,
dude, because there's a lot of those albums that I like. 50 Cent's "Get Rich or Die Trying," man, played the crap out of that.
It's a great
like
one.
So many great ones. Jay-Z's Black album was great. Another one was Eminem's Show. Was one of my favorite Eminem albums I played. So yeah, it's just funny because I was talking to like my nephews about this. It's just like, yeah, you had to have a CD and you had to put it in something. And like my second vehicle had a 12 disc changer in it that was in the trunk of the vehicle. You had to go back and put 12 CDs into the trunk of the vehicle. And then you could decide what you wanted to listen to. And that was ahead of its time. But man, good times. A lot
of people are disappointed we didn't mention 3-6 Mafia.
I mean, 3-6 Mafia was
a huge Project Pat guy.
Yep. Project Pat, saw him when he came to Row Week at the University of Arkansas.
Really?
Really? And that was that Project Pat and Juicy J came once. But yeah, listen, I mean, we could sit here and talk about albums all day long that we all listen to just because we didn't mention one. Like, I can't believe that you did not mention this one particular album. It's like, yeah, well, we probably listened to it and we probably loved it, but we only had so much time to jump into it. So, man,
we need to start mixing in music videos, low key. We might have to end the show with a music video. Just play it on the way out.
Yeah, and get demonetized for it, dude. If that was the case, dude, I'd be doing like Outcast Roses and Hey Ya and like all of that good stuff too. So, man, take us back to the simpler days when music was on CDs and Razorback Football was winning.
Back when it was harder to access music.
Yes, it meant more.
We listened more somehow. Yeah,
yeah. We relied on watching MTV to give us guidance on what good music was. You know, that thing called music television. Good times. So, all right. Well, that was fun. Guys, any final thoughts before we roll out of here for the day?
Good googly moogly. That thing is juice.
Well, I told him to talk to Remy, and Remy just didn't give him the answer he wanted. So, looks like we're not getting another 4-star. Back to 3-star university for us. But good show today, boys.
Well, and since we were talking about music lyrics, I'll end it with a music lyric of one of my favorite ones from not 3-6 Mafia, the 666 Mafia, where it was simply said, "I eat so many shrimp, I have iodine poisoning." That's all you need to know. Appreciate each and every one of you listening in and watching in Inside Arkansas. Be sure to subscribe to us here at Inside Arkansas. You can also check out our audio podcast wherever podcasts are found. If it's Inside Arkansas Live, Pod at the Palace, as well as the Bombastic Podcast. And you can also follow us on social media at Inside Arkansas. And that'll do it for us today. For Andrew Ellis, as well as Curtis Wilkerson, I am John Neighbors. Same sports show, same sports channel, tomorrow at noon. Have a great rest of your day, everybody. We'll see you then.